A video on apple cider vinegar again. So I've been given some cooking apples. I'm going to turn the apples. I'm turning the apples into apple puree, but I've been left with the cores and the skins. And I was kind of thinking, like cores and skins there. And I was kind of thinking, can we turn, because the cooking apples are more acidic, will that really affect the apple cider vinegar that we make? So I'm curious about that. And then also, I'm curious. I'm going to do two batches. I'm going to leave one with the apple cores and the skins whole, and I'm going to puree one. I want to see if that makes any kind of difference. And for both of them as well, what you normally do is you rely on the natural yeast on the from the skins of the apples. So there's natural yeast on the skins, and so you rely on that to start the fermenting process. But what I've got is I've got my yeast that I collected from grape skins, which I've been using to ferment fruit juice and make fizzy pop and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to speed up the process by actually adding my yeast culture already. So this is already alive and well, so I'm going to add some of that to speed up the process. And I was just kind of curious about pureeing one and leaving one whole, and also will me adding my own yeast culture, will that kind of speed up the process as well? So it's kind of I'm curious about three things. I'm curious about cooking apples, I'm curious about adding my own yeast culture, and then I'm curious about pureeing up the apples as well. So we need to cover some water. So there's about 500 grams worth of peelings and cores. There is 2 dessert spoonfuls worth of sugar, and there's 4 teaspoonfuls full of my natural yeast culture. That should be fine. And then what we're going to put in, a litre of water ish, I think. We'll see. And then we're going to cover them with some cloth, and then just leave them on the side, and they should start to ferment. And when they stop fermenting, then they will turn when they stop fermenting, that will be alcohol, and then we'll strain it, and then that alcohol should quickly turn into a vinegar, because I fermented something the other week and quite quickly it turned to vinegar. So, and I think a weaker yeast, like the one that I've collected, or you find naturally on the apples, so that's about 950 milliliters. A natural yeast that you collect yourself, I think, will actually ferment slower but turn to vinegar quicker, if that kind of makes sense. So purely this one, if the cable is long enough. Oh, turn it on. Probably should pick something better. There we go, it's going. So just need to be careful pulling that out. So you need to turn it every day, just to kind of stop the top of the vinegar going mouldy. So you want yeast growth, but you don't want a bacterial growth. Making a bit of a mess, always. Not to worry. Right, that's made a bit of a mess, but not to worry. So, cloth on the top, elastic band around it, and then we'll leave it on the windowsill, just out of the sunlight. We'll wipe around the top of that. Just taste it, actually. Now we've pured it up. Does it taste like apple juice? That's kind of, you see, now I've thought of something else I want to do as well. can we actually puree it in that stage so it tastes like an apple juice, and then ferment that apple juice? Even though, yeah, how do I describe that? Yeah, so, well, no, I don't need to do that. What I can just do this. So, the cores and the skin is waste, and normally to make cider and things, you take the whole apples and you ferment them, puree them, squeeze all the juice out of them, and then ferment them. But could you kind of actually puree down the skins and the cores, use the apples for something else, add water and sugar, and kind of extract flavour from the skins and the cores, and then ferment that into a cider? And I think you probably could. And I think you kind of could. Not like it's not like unscrupulous, but you're kind of getting two bites of the cherry, if you know what I mean. You know, you're kind of getting the actual flesh of the apple, which you're actually going to use for something, and then utilising the cores to potentially make a cider. Which maybe that's something I'll do in the future. Maybe when I pick the apples from my sister's tree. But anyway, so cloth on the top, elastic band, leave it on the side. It'll start to ferment. Give it a stir once a day, just to kind of stop the bacteria forming on the top. And there we go. We'll see how it turns out. So the light's not pretty good. I really should have put it somewhere better. But it's starting to ferment. The only problem with pureeing up the, you can see the movement. The only problem with pureeing up the cores and the peel is that it wants to form a raft at the top of the jar. So I've had to put it in a bigger jar, so there's more room at the top, otherwise it wants to spill out over the top of the jar. But I don't know if you can just see. I see some. Yeah, you can kind of see some bubbles wanting to rise. Not really, but you can in that. So it's definitely fermenting, and putting in my homemade yeast has certainly speeded up the process. Let's have a look at these. These are not fermenting. So there should be more bubbles than that, and there certainly should be more bubbles than that. So I think there's a few bits of bubbles, but not many. There should be more bubbles coming to the top. They certainly smell a little bit fermenty. Yeah, let's have a taste. I think we need to add some more sugar, and maybe some more yeast to it. Let's add some more sugar. Let's add some more yeast. I don't know. I think maybe the what we call it, the apples might be a little bit too acidic, but you can make lemonade, and ginger beer is kind of quite acidic, so I don't know. Or maybe just need some more sugar in it to get it going. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not bothered about contaminating each one with mixing them around, because I was just curious about the fermentation process. Right. Let's mix that around. It was fermenting, so I can't imagine that it stopped fermenting after that short amount of time. It seemed a little bit ridiculous. And then let's put a goodly amount of that in. Need to buy some more grapes and feed my yeasty culture. Anyway, right, so that in there like that. These back on. And we'll see how we go. I don't think this is going too well. So I think something's happening to it that's killing the yeast that I added to it. There's a little bit of movement in this one. So I don't know if you can see the bubbles wanting to come to the top, like there. Yeah, you see more bubbles wanting to come to the top, but nothing much is happening here. So when I first added the yeast, it was foaming at the top, and it's not foaming on the top anymore. So I don't know Although it tastes like vinegar. It tastes like vinegar. It's kind of quite sharp already, so I don't know. It can't have turned to alcohol and vinegar. It's not been a week. I don't know if it's because it's cooking apples that there's a certain amount of acidity in it that's turned that to vinegar kind of quickly. I don't know, but it tastes vinegary. It tastes vinegary. So I don't know. I think this is the end of the video, because I don't think this is much is kind of happening. I mean, they're both a little bit vinegary. Why the vinegary so quickly? I always thought it was supposed to ferment into alcohol. So I always thought that there was natural yeast on the apples, and that fermented, turned into alcohol, and then that alcohol turned into vinegar, and it's why it kind of takes so long. But that tastes vinegary really kind of quite quickly. Right, what does my yeast culture taste like? This smells alcoholic. This smells of alcohol. That's going a little bit vinegary. That's going a little bit vinegary. It's still fermenting a little bit because we're getting bubbles coming up. I don't know if I've just bypassed the fermenting process and gone straight to vinegar. I don't know. I think what we need to do with that is we need to take a little bit of that and put it in some fresh grapes and ferment those grapes. I think that's what happens, but I don't know why. I don't know. It's not going to ferment anymore. It's quite sharp. It doesn't taste of alcohol. It can't have fermented that quick, but it tastes vinegary. That's just really bizarre. I don't know. I think I'll have to have another go with non-cooking apples. So, I don't know. I just don't know. I'll strain it off, and then we'll have a think about it. Right. So, what I did do with another batch of apples, I pureed the cores and skins down in water, and then I strained that water, squeezed all that water out of them, and then I repeated the process again and again. So it made like a bit of like an apple kind of juice, and I'm fermenting it out of interest, and that's fermenting now. So I don't know why, and it's the same yeast that I put in it. I don't know why this is fermenting and going fizzy, and those kind of haven't. So this is happily fermenting away, and it's been fermenting away for 2 days. I've had it on the go for 4, but it's really fizzy now. So if I was to bottle that, put it in the fridge, it would be like a sparkling appley drink. So that's fermenting. And if we take that further, it will ferment until it turns into alcohol, and there's then sufficient alcohol in there which will kill the yeast, and then that will be cider, like a mock cider, because it's not really apple juice. And then you can turn that cider into, that mock cider into an apple cider vinegar. So why has that worked and those not? I don't know. Maybe there is conflicting bacteria, yeast, in the like a higher concentration of yeast, of a different yeast, which has killed my yeast on the skins of those two. But I don't know. But that's fermenting nicely. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know anything sometimes. Well, I was going to strain these off because it looks like they failed, but we've got something growing on the top, and it's quite I don't know. Is it yeast? Is it a mould? Or is it a mother that's forming? I don't know why a mother would be forming on something so quickly. I don't want to taste it. I don't know. No, that's not very gelatinous. What does it smell like? I think we should just throw these away. Yeah. Let's just throw those away. Let's call it a day and throw those away. We know that we can extract the juice from the apple cores and skins, and we can do that a few times with the same water, and we can then ferment that juice, but we can't make vinegar from, or ferment those cores and peel and then make vinegar out of them. So it's kind of a fail, but not really. We'll have another go when it's time to pick the apple from my sister's tree, and we'll see if we can do it with non-cooking apples. We'll do it with eating apples maybe.